Thank you so much for being here. This is my home. My name's Alli. I live here with Adam, who's right here, and Jesse, who's somewhere over here. Is Jesse here? There he is. Thank you guys so much for coming to learn about the power of mushrooms and start your Friday morning with us, because we're going to go into the mushroom industry and we're going to talk about, like Brian and I are going to give you an overview of like our thoughts on the space. We have some amazing experts and people that we've brought in to kind of help facilitate this discussion. But the reality of the reason why we're here is because mushrooms have been massive in our mental health journey. We believe they're the biggest lever that you can pull in humanity right now across so many different industries to impact mental health, physical health, the environment, so many things. And the gap that we're trying to fill is, you know, statistic-wise, just so you guys understand who raised their hand, 95% of the room for both functional mushrooms and psilocybin, positive impact in their life. What is interesting about that is that we are in the mushroom capital of the world, as we like to say, and we're really lucky that we've gotten exposure to these compounds. And so we have actually a little slide, and even if you could change the slide. So this, I don't know if you guys, can you guys see the screen? It's kind of tough to see.
Do my connector light.
Okay, well, what it is on the screen is a visual of the world, and there's a little mushroom over here in Venice, California, and showing that this is us in the mushroom capital of the world, and this is what we hope to do with the power of mushrooms, spread it out into the world. And then Brian so eloquently decided that we should put little aliens out here in the universe because they already have mushrooms, right? Is that what your explanation of it?
Yeah, mushrooms, you know, aliens are fungi, so it's kind of like their way to shake our hands, so like, let's shake it back.
So that's what we kind of wanted to start the conversation with. I'm going to pass it to Brian to kind of give an overview of like why we're here, who we have in the room, what our flow of the conversation is going to be. We'll talk for like 10 minutes, and then we're going to call on some amazing humans that have volunteered their words.
Awesome. Hey everyone, my name is Brian. If you don't know me, I'm Alli's co-founder for SuperMush into the Multiverse. And yeah, we've been talking for a few months now about an event where bringing all different people, all different walks of life together, from investors, founders, just avid mushroom users, and kind of doing like a 101 state of the industry, sharing, you know, here's what mushrooms are that exist. So going over different functional mushrooms such as like lion's mane and reishi is kind of getting everyone up to like, you know, the latest like research and like what's happening. And then going into here are the companies that have, you know, really started the space, and here's how they've helped expand it. Like we've seen that a lot of our customers, for example, are Gen Z, about 70%, and 80% of them said they've never heard of functional mushrooms. However, when they describe what they're looking for, the solution is functional mushrooms and nootropics. And they start trying and they're like, wow, this is really helpful. So we want to kind of go over that. And then lastly, we're going to share is if you are, you know, interested in being an ambassador, affiliate, influencer, investor in the mushroom space, kind of different avenues you could go. I've personally been investing in consumer product goods for the past 2 to 3 years, and SaaS tech investing for about 10. So yeah, if anyone's interested in learning more about that, if you're not an investor yet, definitely happy to share some more information. And yeah, lastly, just wanted to get an amazing group of people in the room. I feel like a lot of synergies are going to happen today from personal and professional passion. So with that, yeah, I'll pass it back to Alli and we'll dive into the rest of the programming.
Amazing. Okay, so intention of today, like by the time you leave, we would love for everyone to have, you know, enough information on the mushroom industry to feel dangerous in the conversation. And, you know, when we were originally talking about doing this, we're like, let's just get all the investors, like prospecting, like current investors that we're talking to, like in one room to streamline our process, but then decided like, let's just invite every, you know, other functional mushroom companies. Like the goal is, even if you don't, like obviously we'd love you to invest in us, even if you don't, invest in the space. Like the more capital that goes into it, it really is like a rising tide lifts all boats situation. I read Brian's book about his experience leading his last startup, where he just like open sourced his knowledge around the way that he built his last company, which was Looped. And I was like, this is such a cool way to share information in an industry that's typically very competitive. So that was kind of our thesis behind this. Okay, we can go to the next slide. I know you guys can't really see this. If you can just see like there's like a lot of shit on this slide. That's all you really need to know, because this is one of the latest fungi industry maps of all the companies that are doing things in the fungi space. So over here we have, we like to say mushrooms are transforming every single industry. Like, what does that mean? They're transforming through mycelium. Does everyone know what mycelium is? General heads. Okay, amazing. So mycelium is the underground root structure of fungi, and it's being used to create packaging, leathers, fashion alternatives. It's incredible. Like big companies, Stella McCartney, Adidas, NASA, all the companies here are using mycelium for, environmentally friendly solutions to a lot of the problems we're having. So this is what's happening on the top right corner of the map. And then over here is like the disruption and the future of food. And we have Jared Christie who's gonna comment on like his perspective on this space, because he has a fund that's looking at the future of plant-based food. But this is all the companies that are in fungi that are disrupting the food space. And we have products and packaging, fermentation. Down here we have all the soil companies. And then over here, you'll see SuperMush is like tiny right here. A lot of the other companies that are in this room, I won't name all of them, but like Function, Mudwater, Four Sigmatic and Mudwater are like two of the biggest ones in the space that are inspirational companies for us. These are all the companies that are disrupting the supplement space. And then we have all of the psilocybin companies, which psilocybin is being used across the world in clinical assisted therapy trials. And it's one of the most promising solutions in the mental health space. And that's all from one kingdom of fungi, which is amazing. Anything else you want to share on this slide?
I would just say, the industry, it's booming. We kind of say that mushrooms can cure and solve everything, and it really is amazing. Material-wise, sustainability, solving all of our climate crisis issues. So it's like the world's physical health, our mental health. It's an exciting future ahead.
Amazing. And Emily, can you still hear us? Are we talking loud enough? Okay, cool. All right, can we go to the next slide? Okay, so why the slide before this was funny is because there's all these amazing companies and mushrooms are trending, and like we're all here because like mushrooms is this super sexy industry. They're ancient wisdom. They're literally a tale as old as time. Humans evolved eating mushrooms. They've been a major part of our cognitive development, of our physical development for thousands of years. And one of my teachers in the space is Danielle Broida. Is she in here? Oh, there. Amazing. So I remember when I was first talking to Danielle, she's had many roles within Four Sigmatic. I'm going to botch her title, but like at one point was the national educator for Four Sigmatic. Now I was doing the product formulation. I started to learn from her like the history of fungi and how deep this goes. And it literally completely fascinated my entire world, where I quit everything I was doing to start working in mushrooms. So what we're trying to point out here is like, this is not new, but what happened in the Western world is we like started eating Skittles and stopped using mushrooms. And so everything that we're doing, a lot of the companies here, is like repackaging this ancient wisdom to put them back into our diets. Okay, next slide, please.
Yes, as for like mushrooms, they do one really good thing. They regulate our relationship with energy. So the way we think about energy, it's a big misconception. Like myself personally, 4 or 5 years ago, I was in a very corporate environment. I was addicted to nitro cold brew. I need basically every 3 hours, I need to re-up. If not, I could get nothing done. And it's kind of in this endless loop. And through using nootropics and adaptogens, I realized I wanted to get off caffeine. So, or at least the coffee version. So then at first I went to matcha, yerba mate, I tried a lot of different things, and I found cordyceps. I didn't even know cordyceps was a mushroom. This was the kind of beginning of my journey. And from there realized that cordyceps, it's an amazing mushroom for producing ATP similar to creatine. Essentially, as my body needs energy, it uses it. And I realized that I wasn't getting tired. And the energy, it's not all about feeling stimulated. It's all about feeling kind of like your soul, your mind, your body connected in a state of this equilibrium where you're always balanced. So after kind of the corporate world, I traveled for a few years focusing on flow state and how can I essentially get my mind to this higher frequency of gamma and theta, where with this world I'm connected and I'm not out of line. So with mushrooms, you really want to help people understand energy. and understand you don't have to be up and down. The way we describe it is cordyceps mushroom for energy, it's like you don't get tired. For reishi, which is great for anti-anxiety, relaxation, for sleep, I don't get stressed out. So it's more deleting root causes versus trying to fix one problem and creating more side effects. The two other mushrooms which are our faves, turkey tail is an amazing mushroom. It's been used to fight off different illnesses such as cancer. My uncle, he had leukemia, and I actually gave him a lot of turkey tail tinctures. Not sure that was the reason that he fought it off, but it definitely didn't hurt. And there's been a lot of studies around this. And then lion's mane, it's an amazing mushroom for focus. So a lot of times actually psilocybin microdoses, you're not, a microdose is supposed to be sub-perceptual, so you're not supposed to feel it. And a lot of times people say, I feel the microdose, even if it's a low amount. And a lot of times the reason is from the lion's mane. It gives you kind of this like stimulating brain feel, and it really zones you in to get your work done. So for us, like I said earlier, Gen Z and some millennials, they're not aware of these functional mushrooms. These are 4 out of the 13 to 14 main mushrooms that all have amazing benefits and focuses. And we're trying to kind of help the industry all together, if everyone in this room, repackage the way it's delivered and translated so that not just people in Venice have access to it, but my cousins in Ohio, they're like, oh yeah, of course cordyceps, I'm off caffeine, cordyceps is a new thing.
So, all right, let's go to one more slide. We kind of talked about this. We'll kind of we obviously know what the problem is. 1/8 of the population is suffering from some sort of a mental health indication. Gen Z is the worst by far. The reason why our branding is like super fun, 60s and 70s, that's our target market, is because of that core problem. And okay, I know can you guys read this at all? All right, well I'll talk through it, but that's a little overview of the industry. We're gonna quickly give an update on what we're up to in it, and then open it up for some commentary. So we mentioned a few of these brands, and even when we've gotten asked to put competitor slides in our deck, the reality is we're inspired by a lot of these brands. I think that the industry all rises together. So brands we're inspired by are Mudwater, Four Sigmatic, coffee alternative companies. Four Sigmatic being around for the longest. Obviously saw their little truck outside. That was how I started using functional mushrooms. Anyone in this room, did anyone start functional mushrooms with Four Sigmatic, just out of curiosity? Yeah, amazing. Okay, so those are companies in the mushroom space we're inspired by. And then as far as mission-driven companies that we look up to, Mary Ruth is also one of these companies. We didn't add you to the slide yet, but Patagonia, Dr. Bronner's, companies that really go against their bottom line for the benefit of the planet, and they've built this massive following and loyalty because of the way that they do business. Marketing-wise, who we're inspired by is Red Bull and Liquid Death. So we like to say we want SuperMush to be the Red Bull Liquid Death of the mushroom space. Okay, next slide. You want to give a little overview of SuperMush? We'll run through it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so when we first launched SuperMush, we launched mushroom mouth sprays. And for a lot of times, for many people, at least for a mushroom product, it was a novel delivery format. Beekeepers Natural, they have this propolis mouth spray, which is great. And Alli and I loved it. So we thought, what if we can kind of do that form factor for a mushroom product? So we launched with energy, immunity, and chill. And with the mouth spray, it's the fastest way to absorb a supplement. So you have sublingual under the tongue and buccal absorption back of the throat. So better than a pill. You don't have to eat before, where a pill can upset your stomach. Easier and faster in powders. And we wanted to create products that were for kind of communities and shareability. So our slogan is Festival in a Bottle. It's now expanded past a bottle, but yeah, essentially something where you could go to a festival and anyone could share it and have it within seconds. From there, we recently launched a few months ago our mints, and we have a flow focus mint and a creativity and connection mint. They're really, really good mints that are healthier and taste better than an Altoid, but also give amazing benefits. So we have a lot of customers that have gone off Adderall and they take our flow and focus mint. Or others, let's say they want to have a creative brainstorming session rather than taking CBD or smoking marijuana, where they're not actually going deeper into their body, maybe they're numbing their ego. for this, it's actually connecting mind, body, and soul. And then going forward, in a month, we're launching gummies. We also have a marketplace called Multiverse. And on Multiverse, we sell about 700 different products. Gummies are the #1 bestseller by far. And we're taking our top SKU, which are energy mouth spray, we're making a gummy form factor of it. And then we're also doing a sex and a sleep gummy. And we were recently on a TV show called Entrepreneur Elevator Pitch. If you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend checking it out after. But the co-founder, Mark Randolph of Netflix, he had this funny quote where he said, "Horny goat weed, let's do shrooms." So if Mark's behind it, everyone else should be as well.
Yeah, Brian explaining our sex gummies to Mark Randolph was top moment of my 2023.
He wanted to know all the actives for the sex gummies, so I'm like, all right, we'll dive into it.
You called it daily sex gummies, which I thought.
Daily sex gummies.
Yeah.
Okay, a few other things to note on SuperMush. Like, a lot of you are familiar with the brand. Is anyone not familiar with SuperMush? Has anyone like not tried SuperMush? Okay, amazing.
Am I
So
literally the only one?
I think there's a few. We crowdsource a lot of our friends to be in the room to make us look good. So, a quick overview on the brand is, we created it so we could bring the magic of the legal superfoods of mushrooms to everyone. It's very community focused. You may be able to see some of these visuals. We activate at festivals. We like to say we think about community like a product. That's a huge part of our brand. We launched in January of last year. We've had 3,000 people come through our private events. We've activated at tons of festivals. One of the fastest growing brands on TikTok, thanks to Brittany, who is the best TikTok creator out there. So she runs our TikTok, and we also have a whole line of merch as well. Some of the merch is hanging up over there. Some of you are wearing it. Thank you for that. And we're kind of taking this Aviator Nation meets Mad Happy approach with our streetwear, and all the messaging on the merch is also very mental health focused. Last piece of what we're doing. If you're familiar with Into the Gloss and Glossier, I like to make that comparison because we have a media arm of the brand called Into the Multiverse, and we're really focused on education around mushrooms holistically. Some of the people in this room have been on our podcast, so we have a podcast called Into the Multiverse. Here's some of the episodes from that. And then we also do a dinner series a few times a year with companies like YPO, Patel, Wonder Sciences, Numinous. We'll get hired or work in partnership with these companies to bring together psychedelic thought leaders and have very intentional conversation on how to move it forward. Those are the main things we wanted to point out about what we're doing. Here's a map of our little ecosystem. And this is our team vision board that we put together every year. So if you know any people on this vision board, please connect us with them. And yeah, that's the main stuff we wanted to share. There's a lot more we can go into, but we wanted to make room for questions. And anything else you wanted to add before we pass it to Jared?
I'd say last thing, we're really focused on being a consumer lifestyle brand, and we want to help other companies be consumer lifestyle brands as well. I worked at Red Bull all throughout college, and I really loved their model, but I hated the product. So I feel like there needs to be more healthier Red Bulls out there. So yeah, any other brands ever want to kind of chat about Red Bull guerrilla marketing playbooks, happy to share.